Good afternoon. My name is Aisha Chugtai, and I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. I am going to call to order our regular meeting for Monday, July 15th, 2024. Before we begin this meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members, staff, and the public that these meetings are broadcast live to enable greater public participation. These broadcasts include real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley.
Present.
Rainville.
Present.
Vita.
Present.
Ellison.
Here.
Osman is absent. Cashman.
Present.
Jenkins.
Present.
Chavez.
Present.
Chowdhury.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Vice Chair Koski.
Present.
Chair Chugtai.
Present.
There are 12 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. We have two discussion items on our agenda today. We will begin with item number 1, which is an update on the city's use of funds resulting from the American Rescue Plan. I will invite the city's Chief Financial Officer, Dushani Dai, to give that presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Chair Chugtai, Budget Committee members, my name is Dushani Dai. My name is Dushani Dai, and I'll be presenting the ARPA funds update. Before I do that, I would like to go over the agenda for today. So the ARPA overview will be very short, and then we will get into more detail for each of the projects, and then we'll talk about the next steps as we get close to the end of the funding period. Before I get to the next slide, I would like to take a moment to thank Dustin Leslie, who put this presentation together. It took a lot of effort coordinating with departments, procurement, and going through projects that date back to 2020 and 2021, and then also 2022. So thank you, Dustin. So as a reminder, City received a total of $271 million in 2 installments to cover eligible costs incurred between March 3rd, 2021 and December 24th, 2024. The federal government's goal was to avoid long delays in the recovery of the U.S. Experience after the last recession. So the idea was to get the funds out the door and help with the economic recovery as a result of COVID-19. So according to Treasury guidelines, these funds are eligible to be used, so the city may respond to urgent COVID-19 related efforts to decrease the spread of the coronavirus, fill revenue shortfalls, invest in critical infrastructure, and support the communities that were hardest hit by COVID-19. I would also like to talk a little bit about the process the city went through in distributing the funds to the projects that you will hear about later. In anticipation of receiving the funds, the Finance Department reviewed Treasury guidelines, attended hours of webinars, and connected with other peer cities. In April of 2021, City received a presentation from Seattle and Denver, and city staff members discussed how they were using the funds, and they range from economic recovery, public health concerns, homelessness, and many issues cities were facing at the time. And Minneapolis wanted to get the money out the door very quickly, but also wanted to conduct public outreach. So during the short window we had prior to receiving the first installment of the ARPA funds, the city conducted a survey, and the residents outlined the spending priorities for ARPA funds. And these results are posted on our ARPA website, and I've also included a link through the presentation here. So when the departments were asked to present projects for ARPA funds, we looked at 5 main goal areas, and they were in line with what we heard from our residents during the survey. And these 5 goal areas are broken into housing and homelessness, economic rebuilding, public safety, climate and public health, city capacity, and performance. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the eligible uses for ARPA is revenue replacement. So Department of Treasury provided a clear formula for cities to calculate revenue loss. So this formula does not simply look at the prior year revenue loss, but compares it to where the revenues would have been pre-pandemic. By applying this formula, city missed a total of $281 million in revenue alone in 2020. So rather than claiming all of the ARPA funds as revenue replacement, as many local governments did, Minneapolis chose to fund some projects to aid the recovery. I'll go over the amounts that we budgeted for in each of the years. So in 2022, $68.7 million, 2023, $47.1, and in 2024, $36.4 million. And as we connected with the departments, many of the departments are planning to spend down the remaining ARPA balances, but I will go into detail for each of the projects later on. And the plan is any funds left over in November will be claimed as revenue replacement through council action. And then departments can continue to spend down any obligated funds. So when we talk about obligated funds, this means there is a binding contract for the work that's being completed, an agreement or a purchase order by the end of 2024. And no funds can be reallocated after 2024, and revenue replacement will be used to claim any unspent funds. I will now go over the projects funded by ARPA. Presentation is organized by goal area. And after a few slides, I will pause for questions, since there are quite a few to get through. Let's see. Okay. So the first project is NOAA Preservation Fund. There's a balance of 1.3 million, or sorry, 1.3 million was budgeted, and all funds have been expended. NOAA Preservation Fund for Communication and Outreach Services, low-income home repair and maintenance, all have 0 balances. Homeowners at risk of foreclosure, Heritage Park Emergency Stabilization Support, Housing Stabilization for Land Trust and Perpetual Affordable Housing. This project has $970,000 remaining. I will pause for questions.
Colleagues, does anyone have questions on this section? Seeing none? Oh. Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. Thank you so much. I'm just curious if we are going to have each of the department heads come and speak to the unobligated balance for each of those, or is that going to happen at the end here?
I will pause after certain slides. So if you have questions about the 970,000 remaining, you may ask that question now.
Great. Yes. I mean, I can either do it now, but I'm going to ask every single time there is any unobligated balance for the director to come up and speak to it. So would love to hear, but we can do it after each pause too, but would just love to hear a little bit more about the program and the plan to spend the unobligated funding too.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Koski, my name is Eric Hansen. I'm the CPED Director, and the $970,000 unallocated balance is a little bit misleading. So the way this program is set up is we have two contracts in place, one with Habitat and the other with the Land Trust, and these are available when they bring projects to the city. Then we put money into buying properties. So it's as the projects come in, then they draw down on this 970. We're on track for us to spend it by the end of the ARPA period. So this money is, the way we see it from CPED, is committed and will be spent for this purpose.
Thank you. Was this part of phase 1 or phase 2?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Koski, this is phase 1.
This was part of phase 1. Okay. And so when you say this will get paid down, my understanding is that from the presentation that we have to know specifically by the end of October this, so we will know for sure by the end of October where you're at. But that's essentially what you're saying, that this will be either in contract by end of October or the end of this year.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Koski, yes. We'll be able to provide the Budget Office with the information they need at that point in time, and we can do a check on how much was been spent.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Would you like to continue?
Madam Chair, council members, thank you, Eric. Next project is the Women's Shelter with a zero balance, supporting housing for persons experiencing homelessness, zero balance, expand the home ownership to low-income households with the $11,000 balance. Low barriers to single-room occupancy pilot, zero balance. Envision pilot has the entire amount available. And MPHA scattered site construction. I'll pause for questions.
First, we'll take a question from Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Vice President Chuck Ty. I see Director Hansen already in queue right now, so he's probably going to answer the obligated balance for one of the slides, on slide 9 specifically.
Envision pilot.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Wansley, are you referring to the Envision pilot?
No, I'm looking at the expand home ownership to
Yep.
low-income
The
housing.
$11,000?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chair, Councilmember Wansley, we have those funds under contract. Those are for down payment assistance for low-income households buying properties. We're looking into, when we saw this printed in the agenda, we're looking at, we might have already spent that $11,000. And would you like me to opine on the
Can
Envision
we-
project?
Yes, and also, is there a way to get a follow-up through staff memo of confirmation whether or not it's spent for the 11,000?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
We'll work with the Budget Office to get you that information.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair. I really appreciate it. This is more technical about the revenue replacement. Kind of, I figure good to ask the question at the top of the presentation. With what's left over, does revenue replacement mean going back into general fund, or like how does that mechanically work? Director Dye, thank you.
Chair Chuck Ty, Budget Committee members, that's exactly right. So it would be counted as revenue replacement, meaning that any revenue that was not collected over the last 3 years due to economic conditions, we're able to recognize some of that revenue with ARPA funds. So we'll go back to the general fund as revenue.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to ensure.
And then finally, Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, if Director Hansen might come up, if you could just give a little more information and context about the Envision pilot. I see that the entire amount has yet to be, or is unobligated. So just curious a little bit more about this program and pilot.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair Koski, that is a project that was held off. So this is a 10-unit tiny home project, corner of 21st and Penn in North Minneapolis. And because of the 2040 litigation, that was on pause. So we've had city council actions on this funds. We will still have to come in for the land sale and the contract authority. We're planning to do that this fall and get that project moving. We're a large funder in this pilot program to see if we can activate this type of housing use in Minneapolis. So we're hopeful that this project will get moving through the winter and under construction hopefully next spring.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We can continue with the presentation.
Okay. Next project is expand home ownership for BIPOC households. In Harrison, zero balance. First Mortgage Equity Loan Fund with a zero balance. Minneapolis Homes, missing middle with a $2.7 million balance.
Wonderful. And if we can have Director Hansen speak to the unobligated balance.
Chair Chuck Tai and members of the committee, the $2.7 million you see roughly is funds that are allocated to developers that were locked in with the 2040 lawsuit. So those projects now will be freed up to move forward. We're hopeful that they'll go forward, but we're still working on do they have all the funding in place to do these. These are higher density projects in formerly lower density parts of the city of Minneapolis. So we're working through that as staff, and we will know more as as we go through the summer and into the fall about the viability of all those projects. But the council has approved developers for all of those funds at this point.
Thank you. And I'll recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai, and thank you, Director Hansen. I think it would be helpful if you can send us like a spreadsheet with the remainder of the balance and how much is going to each project and where, just to get a brief overview. Thank you.
All right. We can do that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Seeing no one else, we can continue with the presentation.
I will continue. Simpson Housing Services Shelter, zero balance. Shelter Capital Improvements with a zero balance. Rent eviction representation, zero balance. Housing Opportunity Fund with a zero balance. This NOAA preservation I mentioned earlier, so this is a repeat. It was added by mistake. Sabathany Stabilization Grant with a zero balance. Affordable Homeownership Preservation Grant Program, zero balance. Encampment Response, $324,000. Homeless Response Flexible Fund, $25,000. I will pause.
Perfect. And then will we be welcoming someone from Regulatory Services, or we'll welcome DCO Jelly to speak to the two items with an unobligated balance here.
Good afternoon, Chair Chuck Tai and committee members, Brett Jelly, Deputy City Operations Officer. So for the items in the homelessness bucket with unallocated balances, the encampment response, there's one contract. It's a security contract where we have a contract in place, but we have an up to amount of additional $100,000 that we could utilize by amending that contract. The Homelessness Response Flexible Fund, we are planning on continuing to order supplies. There's an order happening right now for smaller things like clothing and hygiene items. And then the last item, the rental licensing backlog project, just talked to staff in that group. They are pretty much, these are backlogs from the pandemic. They are pretty much caught up on that, and so there isn't a plan to spend that that unallocated balance.
Wonderful. I'll first recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai, and thank you, so much for staff for being here. I do have a few questions. Can you repeat that? Did you say we're using security, hiring security for the encampment response, which says it's through an RFP process to provide health-related outreach to homeless individuals with a particular focus on encampments? Did I get that correct?
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Chavez, yes, my understanding is we do have within that bucket of items, we do have security. It's private security just to keep an eye on city-owned parcels, to let us know if somebody is, if there are tents or people on them, with an attempt to keep staff informed.
Thank you. I'm struggling to understand how that is public health. So I think what would be helpful for us to understand is if we can get a spreadsheet of this as well, of how much this $1.6 million was used, and then obviously there'll be $324,000 that hasn't been used, and that's with the explanation you just gave here. And I would love to have a same spreadsheet for the Homelessness Response Flexible Fund. I think these are both really important things for our residents, and it would be important for council to know how it was used. Thank you.
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Chavez would be happy to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Vice President Chugtai. I had a question also regarding the Homelessness Response Flexible Fund and the Encampment Response Fund. So of the two, which fund was used to pay for the fences that went up in areas where there have been unsheltered residents?
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Wansley, I would need to look into that. I don't know standing here if we used ARPA funds for that purpose.
Great. I can mark that also as another question for the staff memo, and I can send that question to the clerks directly.
Thank you. And finally, we have Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. Councilmember Wansley asked one of my questions. I'll just note that there was a conversation that did indicate that ARPA funding was potentially used for fencing, so I was wondering which fund it was as well. My question, DCCO Jelly, thank you so much for being here and taking these questions. You mentioned that in the encampment response pot, there might be another 100,000 potentially allocated for security for another. Is it a continuation of the contract? Is that what we're looking at?
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Chowdhury. So it'd be a contract that's in place, and it's common for us to have a contract for, let's say, $300,000, but the ability within how it was procured to increase that contract. So in this case, there would be the ability to, if needed, extend the value of that contract.
Okay. Thank you so much. Just to follow up through the chair, does that mean that we're looking at the entirety of the $300,000 spent down by October, or just 100,000 with the 224 left over by the deadline?
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Chowdhury, that security contract was one item that was most of that $324,000. I think when we follow up with the line item as Councilmember Chavez, we can expand on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Excellent. And then finally, I'll recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai, and thank you, Deputy COO Jelly. I'll just have our staff record this question too, because it's relating to Councilmember Wansley's question about if these ARPA dollars were used for fences. I'll just expand that question if we can find out if it was used to dump rubble on the ground in my ward as well. So my question would be if staff can let us know if ARPA dollars for either the encampment response or homelessness response flexible fund were used for rubble or helping dump rubble in our neighborhoods in Minneapolis for a homeless response.
Thank you for answering these questions about the allocations made to regulatory services. We'll welcome back the CFO to continue her presentation.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Homeless response staffing, zero balance. Rental licensing backlog project has 157,000 available. I will pause if there are any questions. No? Moving on to goal number 2, which is economic rebuilding. First project, cultural district activation, GBI pilot with a balance of 252,118. I will pause.
And then we'll welcome back Director Hansen to answer questions about the Minneapolis Guaranteed Basic Income pilot. If you can just start by giving us an overview of the unobligated balance and the plan to spend them.
Chair Chuktai and members of the committee, as you recall, this is a $500 a month pilot to 200 families in Minneapolis to see what a guaranteed basic income would do to affect households' outcomes. And we're working with the Minneapolis Federal Reserve on a report to see what that infusion of income had on those families, and we should be able to report those later this year. The $250,000 that you see as a balance is the unused part of that pilot, so that is not going to be spent for this purpose.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any members with questions. So we'll welcome back CFO Dye to continue her presentation.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Small business 2% loan program with a zero balance. Skill building ambassador program with a zero balance. Another green industry pathways program with a zero balance. Minnesota Works program with a zero balance. Then we have BTAP and DTAP service expansion with $13,000 balance. I'll pause for questions.
Well, welcome back, Director Hansen, getting your steps in today.
That's right. Thank you for thinking about my wellness council member. The $13,000 we believe we have under contract. This is one of the de minimis amounts that we see in the economic development section and the housing section, where we're going to do some evaluation, work with the budget office to give you clarity. We have multiple sources that go in our technical assistance programs. We believe these are going to be spent by the end of the contracting period.
Wonderful. I'm not seeing any additional questions on this, so I'll welcome back the CFO to continue her presentation.
Okay, I will continue. CDFI support with a zero balance. Commercial Property Development Fund acceleration with a zero balance. Small business acceleration, zero balance. Another acceleration project, Minneapolis Recovery Fund with a zero balance. Clyde Bellecourt Urban Indigenous Legacy Initiative with a zero balance. Career Pathways Program expansion with $94,000 balance. I will pause for questions.
Welcome back, Director Hansen. Can you speak to the Career Pathways Program expansion and the unobligated balance?
Chair and members, this is contracted with our service providers. As you know, our workforce development programs work with community-based organizations to provide about 17 different career pathways programs. This is in an evaluation to figure out when we will spend it, but we're expecting to have this spent by the end of October.
I'm not seeing any further questions. Welcome back, CFO.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Next project is the DTAP and BTAP Small Developer Technical Assistant Program with a zero balance. Youth Programming for Employment and Training with a zero balance. Black Business Week with $58. I will pause.
If you want to tell us how we're going to spend the remaining $58, that would be so great, Director.
Chair and committee members, I just want to use this time to say we have additional $58 that will not be used because the Black Business Week, which will be next week in the city of Minneapolis. So I want you to go to the city's website and look at all of the events, including the kickoff events, and most importantly, spend money at the small businesses that are participating in Black Business Week next week. But the council and the mayor have put in a budget for the Black Business Week. So this was something to kind of get it up and running, and now it's in our operational budget. So we're appreciative of that, but the $58 is not going to be needed.
Wonderful. Welcome back, CFO Dye.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Arts and culture workforce support with a zero balance. Labor standards and worker center core enforcement and trafficking prevention with a zero balance. Small business payroll provider and compliance subsidy, zero balance. Meet Minneapolis contract, zero balance. Minneapolis Downtown Council event activation with a zero balance. Gender neutral bathroom campaign, zero balance. Service worker trainee program expansion, $332,842. I will pause for questions.
Wonderful. We'll invite now Director Sexton to come up and speak to the unobligated balance and the plan to spend that money.
Thank you, Madam Chair, council members. Tim Sexton, Director of Public Works. Yeah, so this funding here, the unobligated balance of $332,000, we do plan to spend by the end of the year. The majority of this will be spent on a new truck. So our new staff have a dedicated vehicle to train so that they can gain their CDLs and advance in employment with the city. We also will use some of the funds for truck rentals, again, to expand those training opportunities, and then for recruitment efforts for 2 additional hiring classes between now and the end of September.
Any questions for Public Works Director Sexton? Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai. And this is in regards to the gender neutral bathroom. So I will pause unless somebody else has questions on this item.
I'll recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Director Sexton, you're just about to walk off. I just wanted to clarify, so the truck would be used to rent out to other groups for training, or is it, I just didn't understand that rental portion.
Sorry, there's actually 2 pieces to this. One is to buy a dedicated truck that will have some additional outfit in a different way, so it facilitates the training, and it's unique and dedicated for training. It can be used throughout the year when we don't have training classes for other purposes, typical public works functions. That's about $255,000. Some of the additional remaining balance will be used for truck rentals. So we generally have multiple trucks in use, but we can only afford to purchase the one with our current balance of ARPA funds.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai and Director Sexton. I did want to understand if this will be an electric truck. Hearing recently from staff that Public Works is only moving towards a fully electric fleet moving forward. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, Madam Chair and Councilmember Cashman, this is not planned to be an electric truck that I'm aware of. I'm not sure that those are currently available, and so you're right, though, that is part of our transition plan. But not for this current vehicle.
Wonderful. That's the end of the questions for you, Director. I will invite up Racial Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Director Corbett to answer the question regarding the gender neutral bathroom campaign, which was in the slide right before this one. Councilmember Chavez, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Chuktai. I believe this is an amendment that Chair Chuktai authored, and I'm not sure who else did around maybe last year, the year before that. But I just want to hear maybe how this program went, the outcomes, and what did we hear from folks. And I really just want to learn more about it to see if there's action that we need to take this coming budget cycle.
Chair Chuck Ty and Councilmember Chavez, within the scope of some of our LGBTQ equity work, this was not a major priority. We do have a lot of the gender-neutral bathrooms. I am waiting on a action plan, which I hope to have completed by within a month or so, around how we are going to actually execute on this, and that's just being honest.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Now we'll welcome back CFO Dye to continue her presentation, and I believe we're ready for our next goal area.
I will continue, Chair Chuck Ty. Goal area number 3 is public safety. First project is group violence intervention for overtime. All the funds have been expended. Portable and fixed camera expansion with a zero balance. Public safety workforce training, community service officers, $1.2 million remaining.
And it looks like we have someone here to tell us a little bit more about the unobligated balance for the community service officers.
Madam
Welcome.
Chair, committee members, I'm Vicki Troswick, Finance Director in Police Department. This $1.2 million is to fund salary and tuition for 23 community service officers. We're spending at a rate of about $120,000 a month, and we do plan to have unspent about $300,000 by year end.
Thank you, Director Droswick. I'm not seeing additional questions from committee members. With the remaining balance that you'll have after the end of this year, is there a plan to spend in 2025 and 2026 that amount down? Welcome back.
Chair Chuck Ty, Budget Committee members, all of the funds need to be encumbered by year end 2024, so they cannot be expended in 25.
Wonderful. Thank you. Seeing no further questions, we can continue the presentation.
The next project is civilization, with a zero balance. Contracting with local law enforcement agencies for investigators with a zero balance. Contracting with local law enforcement agencies for patrol with a zero balance. Violent crime hotspot task force with a zero balance. Portable camera light and lighting expansion with a zero balance. Violence intervention group work, zero balance. Community safety specialist pilot program with a zero balance. Community trauma response protocol with a $1.2 million balance. I will pause for questions.
And then we'll welcome the Director of Neighborhood Safety to tell us a little bit more about the plan to spend the unobligated balance for community trauma response protocols.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Ty. Yes, community trauma response protocols. I just had another department head stop me briefly to say that they just finished reviewing 25 applications for the RFP that was released for this. That RFP has closed. We received an overwhelming number of applications. This initiative provides support to crime victims after a crime, anything from mental health and wellness, food security, repairs. This is by far our most requested initiative by the public. We will, at the end of this month, actually, have contract negotiations completed or review completed and then go into contract negotiations, and this balance will be spent down. There was an overwhelming number of applications for this.
Wonderful. Any questions for the Director? Seeing none, let's continue the presentation.
I will continue. Next project is early intervention for young people, zero balance. Minneapolis Strategic Outreach Initiative with a zero balance. Services for high-risk individuals, $193,000 balance. I will pause for questions.
Welcome back, Director Nelson Brown. If you can speak to the last item on this list.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. The stabilization services for high-risk individuals has been used with our Next Step program that provides services to survivors and victims of violence in the hospital immediately after a crime has been committed. That 193 is already set to go to their new contract, which will begin August 16th of this year, and those funds will be expended.
I'm not seeing any questions for you, Director. Thank you.
Chair Chuck Tai, I will continue. Next project is Community Trauma and De-Escalation Initiative with a balance of $1.2 million. Violence Prevention Fund, $566,000 balance. Youth and Community Safety Fund with $243,000. I will pause for questions.
Thank you. Welcome back, Director Nelson Brown.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. The Community Trauma and De-Escalation Initiative, I actually believe that is an error, and that should be with the Community Trauma Response. We'll have to work through that with finance. The Violence Prevention Fund, we also released an RFP. That RFP has closed, reviews are completed, and we're in contract negotiations right now. This was also have received an overwhelming number of applications. In this fund are preventative efforts anywhere from mentorship to employment opportunities, and we do anticipate these funds will be spent down. The Youth and Community Safety Fund, those dollars went toward mentorship programming for youth, employment programming for youth. There are a few contracts that we still have. It also provided funding sources for the youth group violence intervention technical assistance, and that contract is underway, and so those funds will be spent down as well.
Thank you, Director. I'll recognize first Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to just note for the clerks, and so we can get some clarity on the first one there. So you're going to go back to the budget team or finance team because we feel there might be an error in that. So if we can just get some clarity of where, if they're combined or mixed or what's happening.
Sure. Yeah, I will definitely follow up. But it looks to me like if you look at the budget number there, that 1296, and if we go back, oh gosh, where's the other? That Community Trauma Response Protocol has an amount of 1296. I believe that is the amount for Community Trauma Response Protocols, and not for community. I don't think there is a Community De-Escalation Initiative balance.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there is, excuse me, through the chair, so there is this program, but we're not sure what those amounts are, or if there's even an unobligated balance left.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. I think somehow these two programs are one and the same, actually. But I'm going to have to go back and double check.
Okay, thank you so much.
Director, if you'll just stay for another question, I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Vice President Chuck Tai. Thank you also, Vice Chair Koski, for flagging this question because I'm still slightly confused because it was my understanding those are two separate funds, and the 1296 that you're referencing for the protocols, it seems like you're saying there's a discrepancy of that shouldn't be the budgeted amount for the initiative one versus like they're still two separate or two different balances.
Right, exactly. And I don't believe that there should be, is what I'm saying. I think there is an error. When I see that 1296, I know that that is remaining for Community Trauma Response. I do not have a 1274 for De-Escalation Initiative.
Okay, so we'll have staff memo capture that question
Yes.
and follow up. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I am not seeing any further questions for you, Director. Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome back, CFO Dye.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Group violence prevention, technical assistance, zero balance. Program information system, zero balance. Neighborhood traffic calming has a $48,000 balance. Stevens Square, Loring Heights lighting, $39,000 balance. Street lighting improvements, $302,000 balance. I will pause for questions.
Thank you. We'll welcome Director Sexton to come and explain the plan to spend the unobligated balance for all three of these programs, and then we'll take questions for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. So yes, the traffic calming, I will start there. This is part of the application process. We're just in the, that we're finishing up from last year. It began in the fall. So these are programmed traffic calming measures throughout the city. We're just in the process of spending those down, but do plan to by the end of the year. Stevens Square and Loring, this one I've been told we do plan to spend down by the end of the year. It includes replacing temporary wiring at Nicollet and Stevens Square to power some replacement lights, and then replacing 2 cabinets, electric cabinets in the area. And finally, the street lighting improvements with a balance of $300,000. This one includes lighting both to replace damaged light poles. So we have a backlog of those, along with some expectation that additional poles will be damaged and need replacement in the coming months. But more substantively, the bulk of that will be spent on adding lighting to 16 additional blocks of near Franklin Middle School. And we're just waiting for the fixtures to come in. So it's a backlog on the supply chain that's prevented us from completing and spending the funds already.
Colleagues, any questions? I am not seeing any. Thank you so much, Director.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Next project is Next Step Hospital-Based Violence Intervention Program, zero balance. Adolescent-Specific Group Violence Intervention, zero balance. Blueprint Approved Academy with a zero balance. School-Based Clinic Expansion has a $119,000 balance. I will pause for questions.
Wonderful. We'll welcome Deputy Health Commissioner Heidi Ritchie to answer some questions about this one.
Good afternoon, Chair Chugtai and council members. Heidi Ritchie with the Health Department. This is part of our school-based clinics expansion around mental health, and this will be spent down by the end of the year with salaries and fringe.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Colleagues, do we have any questions? I am not seeing any, so we will continue our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Next project is Finance and Property Services project. However, it's administered by the Parks and Recreation Board for youth activities. So as they bill Finance and Property Services, we reimburse them through the ARPA funds. And there is a remaining balance of $344,000, and we expect to have that expended by October 31st.
Wonderful. I will actually, let's pause there real quick. I see that Vice Chair Koski has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. CFO Dye. I was just curious, this is a general question on the public safety. I'm just noticing there were 2 for MPD mobile lighting. Let's see here. And I was just wondering if you could just describe the difference between the 2 of them? Or was it one phase 1 and one phase 2? Let me see here what page it was on. So one would have been page 31, portable camera and lighting expansion, and then the other, and that one was for, they've been expended, but 1.4 million, and then the other, I believe, is the exact same. So I was just curious if, yeah, they were the same. So I was just wondering.
Should I go back up through the chair? I'm trying to locate the projects you were referring
So
to.
page 29 and then page 31, I believe they are.
Oh, okay. Chair Chuktai, I will need to ask MPD to come up and explain the difference. Is Vicky still available to answer questions?
We'll have to note
We'll
that
have to
one for
follow up.
Okay, yep, just a
Thank you.
follow-up, just to understand the difference between those two programs, or if there was a difference between them, then if it was the total was almost 3 million, would be great to know, so we can note that for the record with the clerk. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am seeing Councilmember Chowdhury in queue for a question.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. CFO Dai, I was just wondering, with the 344,000 left with the park board youth investment, do you have an idea programmatically what it's going to be spent for before August, or what it's going to be allocated towards?
I am not sure, through the chair, I'm not sure exactly how they bill. I can certainly look that up for you, because we do receive the invoices directly from Park Board, and we can investigate.
That would be really great. And if our clerk team could note that also for the memo, so it's there to help support our staff answering questions. Thank you so much.
And then finally, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Vice President Chuktai. This is actually in regards to the question that Vice Chair Koski raised around the mobile services. I know we did a staff memo, but seeing that there are actual staff here, is there a way to alert someone, OCS commissioner, who I would have assumed they should have been here, to see if they can come up? We still have a couple more slides left, so that we might not have to do a staff memo. I don't know if that's a question. Like clerks, could you teams Commissioner Barnett? Thank you.
We'll see what we can do about that. Any other questions from you? Wonderful. We can continue the presentation.
ARPA goal number 4 is climate and public health. First project funded by ARPA for climate and public health is corridor activation. This project has 0 balance. The next is community food needs, 0 balance. Green cost share program has $513,000 left. I will pause for questions.
Welcome, Deputy Commissioner.
Chair Chugtai, Deputy Commissioner Patrick Hanlon with the Health Department. We have allocated all of that money. It's either awarded or encumbered from the snapshot that this document was taking place to where we are right now, so that money will be spent. Thank you.
Wonderful. And then I see that Commissioner Barnett has joined us, so if he wants to address Councilmember Wansley's question, Councilmember Wansley, if you can restate it.
I believe it was Vice Chair Koski's question originally.
I apologize.
Sorry.
Vice Chair Koski.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair.
I can answer real quick.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Sorry, I was in the other room monitoring and working. So, Chair Chuktai, Councilmember Koski, we're trying to get someone from MPD to return to help answer the question. So hopefully they can be back before the meeting ends.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Let's continue the presentation.
I will continue, Chair Chuktai. Next project is Youth Coordinating Board. This project has $251,907 remaining. Community Health Fund has 0 funds remaining. I will pause for questions.
Welcome, Mr. Groot.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members, Chair Chuktai. I'm the Executive Director of the Minneapolis Youth Coordinating Board. My name is Ann DeGrood. And the funds for the Youth Coordinating Board have been obligated and will be spent by December 31st, 2024. Any questions?
I'm not seeing any questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. The next project is eliminating childhood lead poisoning. This project has $1.5 million remaining, and green zone weatherization has $435,000 remaining. I will pause for questions.
Thank you. Welcome back, Deputy Commissioner Hanlon.
Chair Chugtai, council members, Patrick Hanlon, Deputy Commissioner in the Health Department. The childhood lead poisoning, we kind of anticipated this as a collaboration. This is the first time we've been able to do preventative lead poisoning in homes. It's a collaboration with Reg Services, and so we knew we were going to have to take time to set this program up and train contractors in window replacement and lead-safe work practices. And so we anticipate spending down the majority of this funding, and we have contingencies in place with Center for Energy and Environment, so we expect to spend this full funding down. And just to give you an example of the rate of acceleration, up till now we've had 150 homes done. Right now we have 157 homes in queue for the rest of the year. So it's now that we have our contractors in place, that work is accelerating quite quickly. So we expect to spend that funding down. And then on the next item, on the green zones weatherization, that money is same with the green cost share program, has already been awarded and already allocated.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Chair Chuktai, Budget Committee members, I will continue. The next project is North Commons Park improvements. This project funding is in Finance and Property Services currently. This allocation is a match from the city. There's a delay in the project due to state funding not being available, but they do still plan to open in 2027 summertime. Are there any questions?
Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take that as a compliment here. CFO Dye, could you just describe a little bit more? I mean, I think that's, it's really important for us to understand. I'd love to make sure I hear that's getting out, so that's amazing. Can you just help me understand just that process so that it's going to be obligated by the end of this year and how we ensure that? I just want to make sure. I'm imagining Councilmember Vita is anxious to make sure that this is happening as well. So.
Chair Chuktai, Budget Committee members, Councilmember Koski, the plan is to close out this project into the general fund by October 31st and claim it as revenue replacement and reappropriate the funds through the general fund to continue this project.
Okay.
They will not be able to have a contract in place for the entire $3 million without the state funding being available by October 31st.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. There are no further questions. You may continue.
Next project is the Green Minneapolis Climate Resiliency Initiative. There's a zero balance. Open Streets, zero balance. Senior Services Investment, zero balance. End Human Trafficking, zero balance. And then finally, ARPA goal number 5, city capacity and performance. Recruitment, retention, and hiring support, there's $689,000 available. I will pause for questions.
I am not seeing any, but why don't we have an update on the plan to spend the
Of course. Good afternoon, Chair Chuktai, council members, Deb Kruger, Human Resources. We do anticipate having it's actually I think actually closer to 800,000, but expended by the end of November. So there's 3 distinct projects incorporated in this particular project. About 566,000 for retentions incentives for the last 5 unions that have negotiated letters of agreement for retention incentives to be paid out by the end of November. About 97,000 for staff support. We have 2 FTEs that will be fully spent by the end of October. And just shy of $200,000 for social media buys associated with our recruitment campaign that will be spent by the end of August.
Wonderful. Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Real quick question, is the social media, the 200,000, is that for general recruitment for the city of Minneapolis, or is there specific departments or campaigns that it's going towards?
Chair Shugtai, Councilmember Koski, it is still part of Phase 1, which was specific to public safety positions, specifically 911, police, and we'll be rolling in fire. And then I think moving over to, and it also did include in June for Pride. And then we'll be moving into public service worker and some other city positions.
Okay, thank you so much.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. Next project is mental health for city staff, zero balance. COBRA subsidy, zero balance. Third precinct site community engagement, $51,000 balance. Priority project support, $124,000. I will pause for questions.
Now we'll welcome someone from the Office of Public Service to answer some questions about the unobligated balance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe that these funds are being expended on the current process that we're going through right now with community engagement and planning. As you are aware, we brought a proposal forward. The council asked us to do further community engagement. We have been engaged in that process. There are a number of surveys out there. There's going to be some focus groups. There's going to be another meeting in September. I do not know if absolutely all of this is obligated, but I will get back to you in a staff memo with the detail on that.
Excellent. There are several questions. We'll start with Councilmember Wansley and then Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Vice President Chuktai. So I know there's some members who are new to this body, so I just wanted to give a little bit of context of this. So my office actually brought forward this amendment for $100,000 originally to do engagement around the future of the 3rd precinct, also known as 3000 Minnehaha, not to choose whether or not it would be a false choice of should the police precinct go back there or not, but to actually engage community members, especially 3rd precinct residents, around what they would like to see replace that site. The administration, even though we met with them for months and months and months, decided to do a bait and switch and went with the latter of should a police precinct go there or not. And now we're in this weird position where now administration is going for engaging residents about a democracy center. So my actual question would be, Councilmember Chavez and I brought forward a legislative directive asking for a particularly different engagement process around 3000 Minnehaha. I believe the results for that supposed to come back next month. And we asked for engagement recommendations that's actually more in alignment with what the community originally asked and what I originally envisioned for this $100,000 that got completely redirected. So is the dollars that's being spent that you're talking about, is that all relevant to the Democracy Center proposal, or is this around something else?
So, Madam Chair, if I could have 10 minutes, Mr. Cato is in communication with me, and I think it's just better if I hear from him than speak off the cuff.
Yes. Do you want to take Vice Chair Koski's question too, just in case?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yes, I guess my question was, I was wondering if this third precinct site community engagement was for the old third precinct, or this was for the new public safety center / third precinct? And then if it was, if that funding, I know that in our upcoming public safety aid funding request, we've asked for $105,000. So I was just wondering if this was an addition or if I'm mixing them two and I shouldn't be. So that's maybe where this could be happening. And I just want some clarity of which project, I guess.
Madam Chair, again, just if you could give me 10 minutes.
Great.
So that Mr. Cato can catch up to what the questions are, and then I can give you an answer instead of just speaking off my cuff.
Perfect.
All these things happened before I came here too, and so I don't know exactly where we're at with this spending.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Wansley?
Yeah, I believe Vice Chair Koski, the $100,000 is the amendment that my office brought forward for the old third precinct, which is the 3,000 Minnehaha site.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome back, CFO Dye.
Chair Chuktai, I will continue. The next project is the furlough relief fund. There's zero balance. Implementing the implementation at the city, temporary staff and finance, CPAD, health, communications, race and equity, HR and IT. These are staff that were hired to assist with the implementation of ARPA funding. There's zero balance. Employee COVID-19 testing, there is zero balance. We also hired a consultant to evaluate each of the projects to determine eligibility. There is zero balance in that contract. We hired a consultant to do subrecipient monitoring as required by federal government. This contract is now expended as well. The next project is Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This project has $184,000 left. I will pause for questions.
Thank you. Welcome, Director. If you can speak to the plan to spend the unobligated balance and tell us a little bit more about this program.
Yes, Chair Tugtai. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission ARPA funds, when I started, was to primarily fund two Truth and Reconciliation program managers. I do not anticipate spending the unobligated funds. We had two temporary TNR, Truth and Reconciliation program managers. One of them left their employment in October of 2023. I decided not to backfill the position because I had some other priority positions within our department to fill. And then our last Truth and Reconciliation program manager found other employment opportunities as of April. So those were primarily what the funding was for, and why you see the 184 kind of balance is because of the one position that we chose not to backfill.
Wonderful. I see a question from Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Vice President Chuktai. So going to slide 51 then, since there was temporary staff that was allocated for race and equity, I had assumed that that was actually for the Truth and Reconciliation positions. Can you name what positions were filled using those specific dollars?
Which slide?
This is going back to 51. So the implementation at the city, temporary staff, and race and equity related to staffing needs in those respective departments.
I cannot speak to that because the only two ARPA-funded positions that we had in REIB were the two funded for the two Truth and Reconciliation program managers. So I'm unaware of any staffing like from the implementation, at least when I started on.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe that's a follow-up question, staff memo, if REIB ever received any portion of this funding because the department is listed here.
We'll note that for follow-up, and then Vice Chair Koski has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director, for being here. Appreciate the information. I was just curious. I think that we are also requesting some additional information to use the public safety aid. I know I'm for Truth and Reconciliation. How is this different from the funding that you're not going to spend for this?
So with the ARPA funds, what I really wanted to do was to develop a Truth and Reconciliation framework utilizing the ARPA funds. We did not get the RFP completed until June, which was after the time that it needed to be obligated per finance. So we were not going to be able to get a contract signed and in place and be able to utilize all of the funds for that. So that's one thing that we are working on, like within our own department, is developing a true Truth and Reconciliation framework. And there's some other nuances around the public safety aid funds.
Okay, so so it's a different program or projects for the public safety aid funds that you'd be utilizing it for?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Excellent. And then another question from Councilmember Wansley.
Yeah. This might be for Director Dye, but just wanted to know when would we, or maybe OPS, when will we have the results of this evaluation done by the consultant who's helping evaluate all of our ARPA spending and programs?
Chair Chuck Tai, Councilmember Wansley, that evaluation already occurred. So that was to determine which projects were eligible to be funded by ARPA. So they went through the Treasury guidelines, and once we identified the projects, they just ensured that they were eligible for ARPA funding.
Okay, so performance reporting, so it's not continuous evaluation then over these? Because it seems like continuous evaluation from the project details.
Chair Chuck Tai, Councilmember Wansley, know that this will not be part of their project. However, as part of the final report out to Treasury, we're required to provide outcomes for all of the programs, which we will plan to share with the entire council.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Wonderful. And then it looks like COO Anderson Kelleher has an update from the 3rd precinct questions that were asked in an earlier slide. Is that correct?
Chair Chuck Tai, that is correct, and council members. So via Mr. Cato, who went back and watched the portion before and then during this hearing, we will spend all of those dollars by the end of the year on our consulting on where we are with 3,000 Minnehaha. I also asked specifically if he had used your legislative directive in how that engagement is being structured, and he has responded that he has built off that legislative directive for how that engagement is taking place. So it will be spent by the end of the year, and it has been built off of that legislative directive as much as possible.
Vice Chair Koski, Councilmember Wansley, do you have any additional questions based on that? Wonderful. Thank you. We will continue this presentation.
Chair Chuck Tai, I will continue with the presentation, and there is a response also available from Commissioner Barnett, so I will pause after this. Final project is culturally specific communication to the East African community. This funding has been fully expended, and now we have a zero balance. And I will pause for Commissioner Barnett.
Wonderful. Welcome back, Commissioner.
Thank you, Chair Chuck Tai. I have a partial answer for you. The answer that I have for you, it looks like Phase 1 received $640,000. Phase 2 received $840,000 for a total of $1,480,000. For portable and fixed camera expansion, we would have to research and get what was spent on that.
Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner, so I think is it maybe just on the document twice is what I'm seeing, or?
Maybe. I think we, from my standpoint, not being familiar with that, I would have to go back and really check with the folks in Minneapolis Police Department to make sure that's been on there twice.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I just would love to know if we have spent $3 million on the cameras or if we spent close to 1.5. And
Got it.
I'm obviously support them. I just was curious to know if what the total spending has been.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Welcome back.
Chair Chuck Tai, Budget Committee members, we're down to the last slide. There were 54 slides, if you can believe it. So I'll go over the next steps. As I mentioned earlier, departments have until October 31st to spend down their remaining ARPA balances. And the plan is for the Budget Division and the Controller's accounting group to go over any remaining balances after October 31st. And close out the projects. And any remaining ARPA balances will be converted into revenue replacement. We did have $36 million budgeted for revenue replacement as part of the 2024 budget. We may not have that much to reclaim, but we will claim whatever is available by November, and we will bring that resolution to Budget Committee, then to Council, to take action to claim the revenue replacement. And then finally, we will submit the final reports to Treasury with the outcomes for all of our projects and file the final report. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Are there any questions based on the next steps that the CFO outlined? Councilmember Wansley, are you in queue or is that from before? Okay. Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to reflect a little bit about this update as a whole, if it's appropriate to do so now. This update serves as a really useful reminder to me. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all of our careful scrutiny of it because, as we've always said, and I was budget chair at the time of these ARPA dollar allocation cycles, we're going to use every last drop of this. And when we began, we really didn't even know all the rules yet, right? Like, there were a lot of cities that were sitting on their hands, waiting for final guidance to come out. And those that remember this process well that are elected, that are up here on the dais, include Councilmember Jenkins and Ellison and I. And I think that's it in this capacity, in a city capacity. Councilmember Vita was on the park board at the time. But I can't help but remember the environment of the time. I mean, I remember meeting Director Dushani Dai through an interview process, and it took me over a year to understand until I was standing next to you. Just, you have a big aura and a very petite presence. But it was, I guess I'm saying I'm able to reflect and say, hey, I think Minneapolis really did right by the people of Minneapolis with these decisions that we made, and they were hard decisions at the time. Other cities did more basic government operations, especially at first. Some did basic income pilots like we did, but no one did, to my knowledge, to my looking around, the breadth and depth of this kind of budget process like we did. No one did. The Brookings Institute has held us up in our early collaboration with the county, with Hennepin County, to put together things to serve the homeless population at the time. Most people waited. And so I guess I just want to take a moment to look at, and this was 55 slides worth of looking at all of the decisions that we made a few years ago. And just to say, hey, budget team, and all of these other departments that came together to really work on these new initiatives that were more work than what they were already doing at the time during a global health pandemic that was the first in anybody living's real time in terms of things being scary, and this was a real shared effort, and it's really great how much progress that we've made through all of these different kinds of initiatives. So yeah, I just wanted to say great job to you, Director Dye, but also to everybody at the city, every city staff person that pulled together and made this what it is. I truly think that we used these ARPA funds to the best of our ability to do right by Minneapolis. So thank you for the opportunity to sit here on the corner and reflect through all of these slides today.
Thank you so much. I am not seeing anyone else in queue. Thank you for this presentation, CFO Dye. And with that, I will ask our clerks to receive and file that report. We'll now move on to item number 2 on our agenda, and that is a proposal to reallocate public safety aid. We heard a presentation on this item at our last meeting and had extensive discussion and questions and answers from our presenters, the COO, and the Commissioner of Community Safety. So we continued this item to today's meeting. So from here, there are a couple of changes that have been made to the motion to the proposal from the administration. They, however, do not have a revised written copy of the resolution yet, and won't until during our meeting today. In the conversations we've had with the Office of Community Safety, they are going to be revising their proposal to reduce the allocation to MPD for the salary increases associated with the Police Federation contract, and so. In their original proposal, the allocation for MPD for the Federation contract was $9 million. That $9 million was going to be paid out in increments over 3 years. So $3 million in 2025, $3 million in 2026, and $3 million in 2027. The recent revision will reduce that total down to $6 million and not appropriate $3 million in 2027, since we have a biennial budget in front of us. And so noting that adjustment, that's one of the proposals in front of us today. And then colleagues, in front of all of you is a proposal, a substitute motion that I have authored here today. So I will first move the item number 2 as it exists and ask for a second, and then I'll move a substitute motion to that.
Second on the first motion. Does that make sense?
Yes. So now we have a proper motion in front of us, and I will move a substitute of that, which is the printed copy in front of you that starts with substitute motion.
Second.
Thank you. That item has been moved and seconded. Now the order of operations here we'll first take up the motion authored by me, and then we will either dispense with the item and make a recommendation to council, or we'll move in a different direction, including other motions that could be made here. So the item that is in front of you, along with a pretty extensive document that explains each of the different components of this resolution, I'll walk through at a high level. The goal of my substitute motion is to honor the intent of the programs that were funded using public safety aid in last year's budget, many of which were created in partnership with residents that we all serve alongside community organizations and external agencies. The goal here is to not pit different aspects of public safety against one another. And it is from a core belief that a both-and approach looks like well-resourced law enforcement and well-resourced alternative programming. With that, I'm going to walk through, because this is a little bit more technical in nature, I'm going to walk through the different aspects of what is written in front of you. So first, section number 1 of this substitute allocates or reduces existing appropriations from several different sources, from 6 different sources. So that's an allocation to the convention center, cash balance from the downtown assets fund, which is going to be generated by the entertainment tax and does not have restrictions on how it can be appropriated. Some money from the public safety aid remainder, the unassigned amount, along with money that is currently allocated for the elections facility expansion, the North Commons park improvements, and the ownership and opportunity fund. Now, these last 3 items are of note here because in the second section of this resolution, we then use the first amount we reduced out of the downtown assets fund from the meeting room remodel to then pay back each of those 3 projects. So the elections facility expansion, North Commons park improvements, and the ownership and opportunity fund are kept whole. They face no reductions. We are just using their general fund money to then allocate for the proposal moving forward, and that is accounting for the legal restrictions on how that money can be spent. Now, item number 3 is appropriating money into all of the different programs that were included in the Office of Community Safety's proposal, including that reduction to $6 million that the Office of Community Safety is also planning on making, so reducing the amount that's allocated for 2027, just as the mayor and the commissioner are proposing. And then the rest of the projects in the table are consistent with what was discussed. I'll note, though, that the last project, the 311 Service Center allocation is attributed to the unassigned public safety aid. Now, if you flip to the last page, that is allocating about $200,000 within the police department's existing fund for security cameras, for hate crime prevention. And then the final item is recognizing the amount that is being left for the remodel, which is more than half of the amount of money allocated for that project. With that, I will open it up for discussion on this item. Any discussion from colleagues? Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. A couple questions. We just got this at 1 o'clock. I saw it at 1:15. I hope that the expectation is that it's not that I get 15 minutes to decide on $8 million, especially when there are multiple projects that money is being moved around for. And I need to, I don't trust that this is okay. I need to talk to people. I need time to figure out, what can and can't be done in this situation. That's my first comment. The next thing is, if you could move money around to these different, from out of these different pots of money and put money back in, why didn't you just put it in the public? Why didn't you just give it to the police?
Yeah, that's to your second question on why not just give money straight to the police. So the sources we're using for this money, money from the Downtown Assets Fund that is currently allocated for this convention center remodel has restrictions on how that money can be used. It's money that comes from sales taxes, and so there are state restrictions on how it can be used. This is after extensive vetting by our city attorney's office over a week and a half and tons of research that they have completed, this is the legally allowable way for us to reappropriate.
So you had weeks and I got 30 minutes, basically, to figure this out. You just emailed me at 1 o'clock.
All colleagues got this at 1 o'clock. And again, I just want to reiterate, there has been a ton of staff work that has needed to be completed on different aspects of the motion that's in front of you. And so...
I understand that. The staff work is important, but council work is important too because we have to vote on it. So I'm not understanding why the need was to bring this here today instead of present us with it and give us time to look at it, fact check, figure out what it is we need to do as individual council members, make sure the projects that are near and dear to us are going to be supported, and we check that with the attorneys. Again, we have the money for this in the public safety dollars. The money is there. The money that we need to support these raises for the police department on the contract that hasn't even been voted on yet is there in public safety aid that we receive from the state. So I'm just taken aback that you, a person who's a leader on this council, thinks that giving this to us 2 hours ago is okay for us to just review it and make a $8 million decision. My next question is, where does this leave?
Councilmember, can I just quick address that?
Sure.
Totally understand the point that you're raising, and to accommodate for the point that you're raising, I'm very happy to revise my motion to instead move this substitute forward to our city council meeting on Thursday without recommendation.
So I have a lot of stuff going on in my ward. In the next 2 days, I'm planning to prepare for what's on the current city council agenda. That's why we have cycles. So the next council cycle would be more appropriate, in my opinion, than in 2 days. I have a lot of things on my plate right now that I would like to deal with that came from this council cycle. This was just thrown in my face today, and it's a huge decision. I mean, just two of the things you've read off of this, and I know you started this out by saying it's not pitting projects against each other. Oh, but it is. Because there are so many other things that you could have dug into pots of money and found and moved around. North Commons Park and the Ownership and Opportunity Fund are big deals for the North Side. And for you to even have this listed, to me, feels like racism, feels like discrimination against the North Side. So giving me 30 minutes and then agreeing to give me 2 days after you have multiple times moved things back cycles over and over again. Now we're going to give 2 days for something this big? I don't think so. Be a leader here. Do the right thing. Bring it through a council cycle like it should be to give us all time to do the right thing. And not go off of what you've been working on for 2 weeks. You have all the details. You have all the information. You've talked to the attorneys. I have not. And 2 days is not going to cut it for me to get all of that done. I am not going to be prepared to make a decision this big in 2 days when I already have things set up for the next 2 days before council meeting on Thursday. And I don't think it's fair that you expect us to make a decision this big about projects this big. My next question, though, is what does this mean for the downtown, the convention center project? Like, where are we at on that? Because that's been delayed for multiple cycles because of you. And now we're in a rush because of you. Like, what's happening with this project? Can anybody give an update on that?
We can welcome COO Anderson Kelleher to speak to the impact on the convention center, but I will note that a little more than half of the amount appropriated to the convention center project is maintained in this. Welcome.
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Vita, and council members. Before you has been a contract which was put out via an RFP for a full project for renovation and modernization of 39 conference rooms at the convention center. It took almost 3 years to plan for this project because to get to this point, what needs to happen is Mr. Johnson, who's our convention center director, needs to take those rooms offline. It's about a loss of somewhere around $15,000 a day to us to have those rooms offline. And there, as many of you know, there's no such thing as a half project here under the response to the current RFP. It's either a project or not a project. And so the idea that half of the funding works here is not acceptable to the administration. I think Chair Chugtai knows that. The reality is there would be further delay if somehow it needed to be rebid, and then that would push out the need to keep those rooms empty for even longer. This has been a very planful project by Mr. Jeff Johnson to first do 6 prototypes, which are complete, then do 39 of these rooms, and then do approximately 50 of these rooms in the future in a phase 3. Part of the Downtown Assets Fund is bringing conventions and people to downtown. How we do receive money into that fund, especially the local option sales taxes and the entertainment fund, is by having more people in downtown. And so this is one of the things that we have been evaluating since the administration saw the potential amendment. And it is challenging the way that it currently sits.
So it sits that we're half competitive with, I mean, like, we're going to get half the rooms done. So we're half the competitive city to bring money into downtown. Downtown helps my ward. I don't represent a ward that has lots of amenities. So we need that tax base from downtown to make Ward 4 livable until we get more businesses and more amenities in the ward. So I know you're saying it's not pitting downtown against the police or north side against the police, but it is. It very much is. And I would like time to speak with my constituents about what you're proposing here and be able to sit down with them and explain to them what is happening, how this is going to work. I'm just really shocked to even see, like, all the talking this council does about discrimination and inequities, and to see North Commons on this piece of paper and the ownership and opportunity fund. Yeah, let's go for what we need in these communities the most. Let's hit that. Let's pit that against the police. That's not okay, especially when we have the money sitting in a fund that was meant for public safety.
As a reminder, the allocations for all 3 North Commons Ownership Opportunity Fund and Elections Facility Expansion is maintained. I'll next recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you. I just wanted clarification from the clerks if we needed a second on your motion for forwarding without recommendation, because you modified your original motion. Sounds like a second. Okay. And then I wanted to just give some quick comments. First, I do want to share disappointment that I experienced that, we heard the administration make promises to council members that they were going to reach out to those of us who made public safety aid allocations to various safety programs about how, we could work together to address the cuts that were being proposed. But I want to note, I never heard from OCS or any other public safety staff regarding conversations nor engagement around, how we could proceed going forward. That said, I do want to thank you, Council Vice President Chuck Ty, because this has been almost a month that we've had these conversations, at least in AO, outside of AO, around the convention center, also around forwarding this or continuing this particular item for almost several cycles, 2 cycles. And lots of conversation has been around how do we protect both the public safety allocations that both my office and my other colleagues advocated for and funded last budget cycle, while also knowing that there's the priority amongst council members to figure out how do we fund the proposed tentative agreement with the Police Federation. And just want to thank you as a result of your thoughtful and intentional leadership. I see this as a proposal that truly reflects the both and approach that the administration and the city has adopted when it's come to public safety, that oftentimes it feels like we're backtracking on. Not only does this proposal protect our original public safety aid allocations, it also identifies other funding sources that will cover the cost of the police contract. So I just want to I look forward to supporting this item. If I have any questions over the next 2 days, I know where to find you. And yeah, really feel like you brought something forward that does feel like a win-win for everyone. So I'll be supporting this item today.
Thank you. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Chair Chugtai. So I am really struggling with this item, just to be clear, as someone who is voting yes on the police contract. It's a huge task to fund that, and we needed to, until today, we needed to come up with $9 million. Now, we only need to come up with $6 million, which is better. But I, in the last budget meeting, voted down the administration's proposal to cut from public safety aid allocation because those comprehensive public safety investments are very much needed in my ward, specifically in Uptown that doesn't have any preventative or community safety investments whatsoever. There was an item on the chopping block, which was Uptown Safety Ambassadors. That's really important to me. That's like a hard line for me and something that community in Uptown's really asking for. But the convention center is also in my ward, and it's downtown, and this is a really important project. Last month in June was the record-breaking hotel revenue for Minneapolis, largely in part from the convention center's proactive booking of the USA Olympic gymnastics trials, as well as 500,000 people coming into town for Pride. And I've, working with Meet Minneapolis and the convention center leadership, know how proactive and strategic they are with their capital investment planning. So to that point, I am convening a meeting tomorrow with convention center leadership as well as council leadership to talk through the importance of their capital investment project. And, you know, all this being said, I know that we need to find a financially sustainable and responsible way to fund the police union contract without an increase to the levy on taxpayers. And so I think this is something worth exploring, how the convention center project could be replenished from the remainder of the Downtown Assets Fund, which I understand is a pretty large fund, and hoping for a win-win here. So supporting, you know, moving this forward without recommendation to full council on Thursday so that we can have more conversations in the coming days.
Thank you. And next, I will recognize Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Really appreciate it. Just a set of questions, just to check my understanding. Okay, so to clarify, elections facility expansion, North Commons Park improvement, ownership opportunity fund, all of those will be remaining whole. Could you just explain a little bit more, like the budgeting mechanism to do that step one to step two?
Yes. Thank you for that question, Councilmember. So we'll take these one at a time. So the elections facility expansion is funded right now through the general fund. The general fund can be used to pay for the Office of Community Safety's proposals. And so we take the general fund dollars that are allocated to it right now, and we end up using those later to logistically pay for the different proposals in Table 3. With the North Commons Park improvements, that's funded through ARPA, and we heard the CFO during her presentation today talk about how since there have been delays to the project, they need to figure out. They were already planning at some point later in the fall to swap out the resourcing for that so that it would be. So we wouldn't lose that $3 million while it continued to be ARPA funded. So we're just getting out ahead of that a little bit. So the $3 million for the North Commons Park improvements remain, but instead of that being ARPA funding that has to be obligated by the end of this year and used by the end of 2026, that's general fund that now sits in the general fund using Downtown Assets Fund money, and so it doesn't have that same time restriction. Now let's take the Ownership and Opportunity Fund example, which right now has about $3.5 million of unobligated funding, and so we take about $2 million of that, and again, use the downtown assets money, which the ownership and opportunity fund can use because of the way it is granted out, or the way in which awards are given. The sales tax money is good to be used for that. So that's how the changes happen in step 1 and step 2. Think of it as an accounting fix. From the department's perspective, they see no change in the amount of money they have to use for the program or the project. But the way that we can open up general fund and unrestricted dollars to pay for the Federation contract and other items, that's the key.
Okay, so essentially a part of it is that 6.3 million downtown assets fund, that is basically, it's kind of like a swap, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of like a swap, and it's like a budget maneuver so we can move the money around so it is liquid for us to use for the police contract is my short synopsis of that. So glad to hear that the projects that are listed there are going to be okay. They're going to be fully funded. Appreciate that. And then all of that is going to move into step 3, funding the police contract, community safety pilots, community engagement for community safety centers, South Minneapolis Community Safety Center technology, Summer Safety Initiative Joint Powers Agreement, Public Safety Recruitment Campaign, and then the 311 staff for Lake Street Community Safety Center, correct? So all of those projects will be funded through this budgetary move?
Yes.
Okay. That's really helpful. I just wanted to make sure I checked and the public understood how step 1, step 2, and step 3 all connected to each other. It's kind of like a domino effect. Rather sophisticated movement. I appreciate the work that was behind it. And I'll just note, I had several questions in my mind as I was considering the convention center. And today we heard a little bit about the convention center boardrooms being offline. I'm a little curious as to why we're setting them offline. I'm wondering if they're unusable at this point. I'll just note as feedback to us as an enterprise as we work on these things, as a council member and imagining as a member of public, because I had some reach out about this. The RCA that was submitted for the bid for the Minneapolis Convention Center unfortunately lacked a lot of detail that showcased why the need for spending $13 million was necessary. And I think as a city, we owe it to the public to ensure that when we have a high dollar ask, there's an understanding for why something would cost as much. And even within the fiscal note that's attached, it doesn't talk about potential costs for boardrooms being shut off. And so I see COO Anderson Kelleher up here. I guess the main question that I have is, why do the boardrooms need to be shut off at this point? And then are the boardrooms without a remodel unable to be used? Or are they not able to be habitable by people in the convention center? Are they in major disrepair? Or is it more of like a technology update to get it to a higher caliber? Through the chair.
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Chowdhury. So in all construction projects, just like Hennepin Avenue, we have to plan ahead. And when we're planning ahead, we do certain things for those construction projects. So this is a construction project. And to be able to do, and they're not boardrooms, they're meeting rooms that conventions would use. A boardroom would be, I think, the wrong title to it. These are the normal meeting rooms that are used by conventions, by events when they book, and our rooms are out of date. So the issue is we become less competitive when we don't have the product that major conventions want to utilize when they come to town. So it has to do with everything top to bottom in these rooms. Everything from worn out carpet, worn out furniture, to worn out technology, to making sure the HVAC system is working well. And so why we take these offline is because we were planning for this project for 3 years. The prototype was done previously for the 6 rooms. The prototype proved out to be successful. It's something that people want to come and use here. And so we have another approximately, from quick math, about 90 more rooms to do. So this is phase 2 of the project, which would be 39 rooms that would be redone right now. And then in a future phase, the last approximately 50 rooms would be done. And so it's a top to bottom redo of these rooms, and they are the meeting rooms. So if you've ever had an event at the convention center, which I'm sure we've all been to events at the convention center, these are some of the important rooms. They're not the ballroom, they're the smaller rooms that are breakout rooms and those sorts of things.
Thank you. May I follow up, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm sorry.
Never mind. Never mind. We're good.
We were having a broadcast issue, and it is fully dealt with. I'm so sorry. Please continue.
Always happy to be in compliance for our meetings. Always happy to do that. We'll pause whenever necessary. Apologies for using the incorrect terminology, meeting room. So just going back to my previous question, totally understand the planning and the top to bottom and the necessity for us to want to be competitive, right? Or the want to be competitive, not the necessity. Are the boardrooms currently in disrepair? Could we not use them? Just more directly?
So, Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Chowdhury, this was determined through a process of planning through the convention center's work to figure out when these rooms need to be redone. I am sure they probably are usable. They're just not desirable by the types of conventions we want to attract into the future. So it's a competitiveness issue. And we also do have the resources available through Downtown Assets Fund to be able to do this sort of continual upgrade.
Okay.
It's kind of, like roofing your house before it's leaking.
So follow up to that. So they're potentially undesirable. When was the last time that those rooms were used? Do we know that information? Were they a part of the current convention? It's just, there's a lot of information that's necessary to make a decision about a $13 million use, and a lot of it just isn't available to us as council members. And so when we're looking at decisions that we have to make at a $21 million budget deficit, and we're weighing out our police contract that's coming before us so we can ensure that we're doing recruitment, staffing, and then getting the reforms that are within the contract, and also looking at public safety aid that's not promised to us by the state, those feel like needs. And then with the information that's presented to us and available to us at present around this convention center meeting remodel, whether it's in disrepair, sounds like it's not, maybe undesirable, uncertain about the metrics that determine that. Maybe there should be a walkthrough of it if we're spending $13 million by this committee. I'm not sure. It's just like, with the information that's available, it feels clearly like a want versus a need when we're talking about public safety. And so I'm feeling a little in need of more information about the convention center remodel altogether if we're going to say that it's a substantive need, because at present it doesn't seem like, in the face of a $21 million budget deficit and a public safety crisis, that this is exactly what we should be spending our money on. And I have appreciated the fact that the chair has pulled this off for discussion and we've looked at it because we've gotten more information about it. So I don't think I have any more follow-up questions. I'll be listening to the discussion from other colleagues as we move forward through this.
Chair, I think it's important to know that we have a balanced budget for this year. This project was in that balanced budget. It was sent out on RFP. Mr. Johnson has been doing this work for, I think, 20 years for us. He is top notch. I trust his judgment on when things need to be done. He is happy to give you a tour. I know Councilmember Cashman went on a tour. I believe the CVP went on a tour. I think Councilmember Rainville's been on a tour of these rooms. I don't know who else has been on a tour of these rooms. But he is more than willing to do that. They were probably used up until the point he's booking out for 2030 right now. Okay, I want us to think about that. 6 years away right now. It had to be planned in the schedule to take these rooms offline for construction for a budget you all approved last year and a capital budget you approved out of funds that are set aside for this purpose. I'm sure he's happy to take you on a tour. I think this is pitting things against each other that don't need to be pitted against one another.
Councilmember Chugtai, can I just do some closing remarks? I don't have any more questions. My thought process on this is, again, I still don't feel like the case versus needs versus wants is there. I mean, the information that we got recently this year was a $21 million budget deficit and then on a $11.5 million cost on a police contract. And that has changed the budgeting terrain and considerations that we have to make as a body. It has shooken the citizens of our city, and it has forced us to now be in a position where we have to make tough decisions that aren't going to feel good. I understand that this one isn't feeling good right now, but that's the circumstances that we're in, and we're in a position where we have to plan for the future, and the needs around public safety, those are continual. We are still not in a place where we're addressing the crises of getting to the root problems of causing safety issues in our communities. People are continuously worried about our youth, whether they are able to get the resources that they need, whether they are experiencing substance use disorder, whether they're participating in law violations, and we still haven't met the goal of addressing unsheltered homelessness or reducing homelessness or ending homelessness. There's a lot that's going on right now, and we as a city have made public safety a priority so people can feel like they can go downtown, so people can see Minneapolis as a competitive city. So I'll leave it at that. I don't need a response to my comments. I'm going to close on that point.
Thank you very much. Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you. Sorry, I thought somebody else was ahead of me in queue, but I guess they got out. Chair Chugtai, similar to Councilmember Vita, this was disappointing to receive for the first time just before this meeting after 3 weeks of a pause. As a guardian of process, moving and shuffling around many millions of dollars feels a little bit, I'm not really sure what the right word is for it, but doing that 20-some minutes before a meeting, expecting our vote on it, doesn't seem like that makes a lot of sense. But you likely have the votes for this. I don't dispute that. As Ms. Anderson-Kelleher notes, this is about balanced budgets. And to that end, one question here, and again, I just got this, but the $6 million in your proposal, that goes to MPD this year in 2024?
The first item in Table 3?
Yeah.
Yep. So, and this is how the proposal from the Office of Community Safety is structured too. All of the money we're amending the budget for this year to appropriate all of the money this year, and then next year, presumably, they would submit a rollover request for the money to be used, for the $3 million to be used in 2025, and then the following year for 2026.
Right, so to me, that is not what's needed at this point. It's needed in 2025 and 2026 respectively to do what Councilmember Cashman mentioned, which is to buffer levy increases. So the effect here is essentially that MPD either uses it or it falls to the bottom line and gets reallocated or well, it's gone to reallocation. And what I just heard you say is that your intention would then be to roll it over into the next 2 years.
The intention is to structure the allocation to MPD for the Federation contract the exact same way that the Office of Community Safety is structuring the allocation to the police department. The exact same way.
So to me, and I don't think we need to argue about it, because clearly I just saw this like less than a half hour before the meeting, but it's not a real wise present moment decision to front load a lot of money into the MPD department in 2024. I guess I'm watching Ms. Anderson-Kelleher approach, if she might want to make a comment about it.
Again, I'll just repeat, the intention is to structure it the same way the Office of Community Safety is doing, so any technical changes that need to be made are very, very welcome. Go ahead, Ciola.
Chair Chugtai, Councilmember Palmisano, I think that the confusion comes from, in the description of the RCA, it's listed as one number. In the fiscal note, that money is actually spread out throughout the 3 different years, 25, 26, and 27, to your point, to put it all into 2024, where we, again, have a balanced budget. We do not have a deficit, so the public knows that. Currently, we are not facing a deficit in the city of Minneapolis in 24. It's in 25 that the deficit comes. So to be able to have the intention of reducing the property tax levy in 25 and 26, that'll need to be corrected.
Thank you, and thank you for that clarification to both of you. I understand and hear what you're saying. I mean, ultimately, and I can only really speak in summary kinds of terms about this right now, is that I think we all should know better. We can't pull on threads of a complex, balanced budget and start to pull them apart and think that they're not going to have some pretty negative externalities. The easy net of all of these documents in front of us right now is that the net change here is about $8.5 million, of which it would come from the Downtown Assets Fund. They're shifting around to make sure things legally can go in places, but it's essentially saying, let's use $8.5 million from downtown assets to instead fund this police contract. And I mean, I guess you did what you had said that you were going to do in a letter that you had written to the mayor from council leadership letterhead that you never told me you were sending to the mayor, actually, or many of us on this council. And I only found out about it when the mayor responded to you about asking him to identify funding sources outside of the state public safety aid money for the police contract. I don't appreciate being spoken for, especially not even letting me know that I had been until I had received this message and memo back from the mayor. But kicking the can down the road on needed investments for things, whether it's the convention center or whether it's other kinds of infrastructure kinds of things, it's just not wise. I mean, this is to save some short-term pilot projects that weren't planned or well thought out, but were drawn up in a budget process last year. These are ongoing permanent needs that you are looking to take away to continue the funding of pilot programs that the commissioner has made it clear he cannot accommodate and do, and it doesn't fit into the ecosystem of public safety that we're building. So the household example here might be that we're prioritizing new curtains when we can't pay the rent or we can't pay the mortgage on what it is we're doing. It's not very wise general budgeting. You know, back before this was even passed by the state, in April of 2023, it was on the front page above the fold of the Star Tribune. If at City Hall we weren't all there watching this press conference take place out our windows, this has been the intention of the public safety aid money. There was Sheriff Witt, there was Chief O'Hara, there was Mayor Fry, there were mayors of other cities all speaking together in one unified message to the state saying, give us this public safety aid money and here's what we will use it for. And that's what we're trying to follow through to do here. So this entire alternative proposal, while I appreciate the work, it just doesn't really hold water to me. And I needed to say that out loud. Thank you.
Next, I'll recognize Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I want to echo the fact that I just got this a half hour before the meeting, and I want better leadership. That this is not leadership. You have 3 aides. Get us the information. You both and the council president have extra aid. We don't have that. So, let's be leaders here. And then, how many? If you can just raise your hand, how many of you have been invited to tour the convention center? I mean, you bring up some great questions, Councilmember Chandra. Have you been invited to go and understand this firsthand? No, you haven't. Okay, well, I would hope that COO Anderson, we could get the convention center and meet Minneapolis to invite the council members to learn exactly the competitive nature of this business. The other point I want to make is, and this is why I'm not supporting it, you are going to cripple the efforts of the convention center and thus the hospitality industry. If this proposal passes, the contract goes away. The rooms, none of the rooms will get remodeled. We'll fall farther behind St. Louis, Indianapolis, Dallas, Kansas City, Denver. I mean, Dallas thinks so much of their convention center, they're investing $4 billion. And that's who we're going to compete against. We compete against Dallas all the time, yet their city council is investing $4 billion in their convention center. So I'm not going to vote for this today. I'm not going to cripple the hospitality industry with this. That's the only thing we got going in downtown. It's not the offices. It's the residential has come to a standstill. It's the hospitality industry that's creating the jobs and bringing the tax dollars in. Let's not cripple that industry.
Finally, I'll recognize Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chuck. I just want to ask my colleagues here to please be respectful. The word cripple is a very derogatory term when it comes to the disability community. It's not something we should be using in this body. Vice President Chair Chuck Tai, just want to talk about this proposal a little bit and say that, I share the same sentiments that many of my colleagues feel here, but I share those sentiments from the administration side. When I found out that there was an RCA submitted to defund collaborative public safety strategies in East Phillips and Midtown Phillips, I was frustrated. When I found out there was this proposal from the mayor's administration, not the one you have, Vice President Chuck Tai, but the one that is on the agenda, that they were going to defund hate crime prevention programs and defund Lake Street safety ambassadors and East Franklin ambassadors, along with 38th Street and all the other cultural ambassadors, I was frustrated too. So I get where my colleagues are coming from, but we as council did not put things against each other. The administration chose to do so. And I want to keep on talking because Councilmember Palmisano keeps talking about that the mayor's office said they couldn't do these priorities. What that sounds like is that they're not willing to fund public safety initiatives in our neighborhoods. That's what it sounds like when people say that. And the other thing that I want to talk about is that me and Council President Payne last year actually talked to the Office of Community Safety, where they told us that they can do these safety ambassador programs if we did certain things like funding more staff capacity in the Office of Community Safety, which the commissioner rejected via a letter. So no, we are not here trying to divide our community or put things against each other. That is what the administration chose to do when they submitted an RCA without talking to any of us on this dais. We're here trying to clean up that mess. Thank you.
Vice Chair Koski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to ground us. I understand that the motion we have in front of us is to move forward without recommendation, and that is something that I will support that today. What I have seen here is there is one common denominator that I've seen the administration talk about and is in your proposal here, and that is the $6 million for the Police Federation contract. So that's the only thing I can see right now that we agree upon. And so I think we have clearly more conversations to have. I think there's a compromise that we can continue to have discussions around. And so I will support moving this without recommendation so that we can have that time to talk about a compromise.
Thank you. And finally, Councilmember Vita.
Thank you. I would like to know if I can have a list of all the projects or departments that staff gave you, Chair Chuck Tai, that money could be reallocated from and to. So like North Commons, someone must have said like that $3 million could be reallocated from North Commons or like moved around somehow. So I would like a list of all the initiatives or whatever in departments could have been moved around. I'm part of it is I want to see why North Commons was selected and also what other things, like maybe they're not as important to the majority of us, but somehow these things were selected. So I'd like that. And I know now we do like staff memos or whatever. I don't know if you have to ask the clerks for it or if I can, but I'd like to see a list of all the initiatives, programs, or departments that staff told you this money could be reallocated to from the downtown fund. Reallocated to. So that's one thing. And then I also just wanted to say, as of now, we have the money in our budget to do every single thing that's before us. We have the funding for the police pay increases in the public safety dollars. We have the money for the convention center that's been on our radar over a year, and North Commons, the opportunity, and I'm blanking on it, but that fund is funded. Like everything that we're trying to fund is funded. There's just been this, like, we have the money there. We could just use the money and do it, but instead we're doing this kind of shady deal of moving things around to fund things without just giving the public safety dollars to the police salaries. I mean, I don't understand like why we needed to move anything around. I sympathize with some of the council members who have had these projects that they voted for, and I voted for them too, but I also understood last year that a lot of these projects probably weren't going to be executed. They weren't gonna, we weren't gonna have the staffing nor the resources for these programs and these initiatives to be done. And then where do we get, we're facing a deficit now. The projects weren't funded indefinitely. They were funded as pilots. Where do we get the money to continue this, these programs that are on the chopping block is what council members are referring to it as. Like, I haven't seen a vision for years. I've seen a vision for pilots. So then next year, we're in a situation where we've set people up. As someone who worked off of grants for 25 years, what you don't want to do is set someone up with a pilot and then there are no resources to continue if it's successful, right? So what we have right now is a bunch of proposed programs that we don't know the future of funding. And most people look for 3 to 5 years of funding so that they can actually get a work plan, done. They can have a vision for a program. We don't have that in all of these programs that we allocated money to in the last budget cycle. We really don't. So we're doing the community a disservice if we give them this money this one time and we have nothing to back it up, especially in the deficit. So just to recap, I'd like to know what other projects could have been instead of North Commons and the Ownership and Opportunity Fund. I'd also like to know, do we have the money right now in our budget to support all the things that are before us?
To answer your first question, it wasn't staff that gave me a list of programs that, they didn't generate a list and send it over. It was a list I sent of things that, based off of conversations on eligible uses of the downtown, of local sales tax revenue, things that the city attorney's office thought would be better general programs or initiatives, resources that could be used. So going through this change items from the last year's from the budget that we approved in December, along with programs from a different presentation we had from staff in this committee earlier this year, along with the items that were in rollover requests, honestly, some of the biggest ticket items in rollover requests. So those were then vetted by the city attorney's office. I'm happy to provide just all of the documentation for that and pass that along to you. And then
you.
as the COO said earlier, we have a balanced budget in all aspects this year. That's just a fact. Yeah, I hope that answers your question. I am not seeing other members in queue hoping to be recognized. So with that, on the motion to forward this item without recommendation to Thursday's city council meeting, all those, I see Councilmember Palmisano in for a priority motion.
Just a clarification, Madam Chair, in terms of what we're voting on, because I would think we'd move the underlying motion forward without recommendation, which I would be happy to do. If instead we have substituted and now we're moving the substitute motion forward without recommendation, I'm not willing to do that. So if we could just get a clarification on that procedurally from the clerk, I just want to make sure what I will be voting on.
The motion is to move forward the substitute without recommendation.
Yeah, Madam Chair, to Councilmember Palmisano's question, that is my understanding. There were a few motions made, and I think there was some confusion as to where we were, but where the body's discussion has been, my understanding is that the motion is to, the substitute motion has been moved forward without recommendation. If that passes, then that would essentially replace the staff recommendation in terms of what would be sent forward to council. But again, once this body meets on Thursday for the council meeting, the resolution that's before the body can continue to be further amended and or substituted with the new staff proposal that you referenced earlier.
Thank you. And my colleague, Councilmember Wansley, I think asked for a voice vote. Or sorry, a roll call rather. Roll call.
Councilmember Koski?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Councilmember Palmisano, for clarifying that. And I just want to clarify for everyone, too, that, I will be voting to forward this on without recommendation, but it is my hope that the mayor's team and council leadership will work together on a compromise, because I do not support at this time utilizing the convention center project funding in the way that has been described to us today. But I do hope that we can move this forward and so we can take action for it on Thursday and come up with that compromise. And I'm here to help in any way that I can.
Colleagues, would members prefer to vote on the underlying motion first? I'm seeing head nods, yeah? So we can vote on the underlying motion and then vote on the substitute. That way we have taken action and we can understand where colleagues are on both. So first, clerks, on both motions I know were properly moved and seconded. So on the underlying motion, which was presented to this committee at the last meeting, can you please call the roll?
And Madam Chair, to clarify, is this a motion to approve that item or to send it forward without recommendation?
The original motion on the Office of Community Safety's proposal was to approve it.
Yep.
With the 6 million adjustment that we don't have appropriate documentation for it.
I would suggest we move it forward without recommendation.
Yeah.
On the, okay, does someone want to move that?
Yeah, it was Palmisano's motion.
No, Palmisano seconded.
It's your leader. You voted for him.
We probably did, Mr. Rainbow. We probably voted for them, yes.
Yeah, your mic's on. Extremely rude.
So, Madam Chair, the sorry, the item that I seconded was the underlying motion, was the original one printed on the agenda. It was not your substitute motion. So if we're moving that forward without a recommendation, I mean, that would be great with me, and I think many others. I think we might have a unanimous vote on that. But if instead you want to try and substitute, I'm not here to project anybody else's will here, but if instead you want to first substitute it, then I think the vote will just be different, and that's fine too. It's just whatever you choose.
They don't. So we don't have appropriate documentation for the motion or from the proposal from the Office of Community Safety. There are changes that they've made to it that are not reflected in the most current RCA for that item. Would it be your preference to move that forward without recommendation?
Yes, it would.
Do you want to make that motion?
I will do so.
I will second your motion.
Thank you.
Can we call the roll on that?
Yes. So to forward item number 2 without recommendation to council, Councilmember Payne.
And clarifying question, does that mean that we are not taking up the substitute motion?
Correct. Once the item is forwarded to council, I think, the body has chosen to send it to council. The Vice President could then still bring her substitute motion on Thursday.
Oh, God. Right.
I think, sorry. Vice President Chair Chuck, what I would recommend is that we just substitute your motion, move forward without recommendation. If the mayor has a proposal this Thursday that a councilman is going to carry, they can then substitute that motion. If that passes, great. If it doesn't, great. We just replace it then as well. So I think that would be just the recommended pathway. I'll move to substitute the motion before us, and then we can move that without recommendation to council.
Will you call the roll on moving forward the Chugtai substitute without recommendation?
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
No.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman is absent. Cashman.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
No.
Vice Chair Koski.
Aye.
Chair Chuktai.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 2 nays.
Madam Chair, I would like to change my vote, please. I was confused. I'd like to vote no on that.
Clerks, can you note that Councilmember Rainville would like to change how he voted on that roll call?
Yes, that changes the results to 8 ayes and 3 nays.
Thank you. With that, we've completed all business to come before this committee today, and without objection, we'll stand adjourned.